The reservation was for 7:30 at Marcello's, the kind of restaurant where appetizers cost more than my lunch budget for a week. My wife Jennifer had insisted on it, texted me 3 times that afternoon to make sure I remembered, added that her family would be joining us and I should wear the navy suit she liked. I wore it. I showed up on time. I smiled and shook hands with her father Richard, kissed her mother Patricia on the cheek, nodded at her sister Amanda, who looked at me the way you'd look at something stuck to your shoe. What they didn't know, what Jennifer didn't know, was that 2 hours earlier I'd discovered where $14,800 of our money had gone, and I'd decided exactly how this evening would end. "There he is," Patricia said as I approached the table, her voice carrying that particular tone of disappointment she'd perfected over the 3 years I'd known her. "We were starting to think you'd gotten lost." "Traffic," I said simply, taking my seat next to Jennifer. She looked stunning in a black dress I didn't recognize, her hair styled in those loose waves she knew I liked, wearing the diamond earrings I'd bought her for our anniversary. On her arm sat a new designer handbag, cream leather with gold hardware, the kind that costs as much as a mortgage payment. I'd seen the charge that morning, $917, on my credit card. The one she had authorized access to because we were married, because we were partners, because I trusted her. That trust had been a mistake. "Jennifer was just telling us about her promotion," Richard said, swirling wine in his glass. He hadn't offered to order me any. "Assistant Director of Marketing. Very impressive." "It is," I agreed. "Meanwhile," Amanda said, examining her nails with theatrical disinterest, "what are you up to these days? Still doing that computer thing?" "Network security analyst." "Right, that." She waved her hand dismissively. "How much does that even pay?" Jennifer laughed, a sound like breaking glass. 72,000. The table went quiet for just a moment, that particular silence that comes before someone says something cruel and packages it as humor. 72,000, Patricia repeated slowly, as if tasting something bitter. "Well, that's something, I suppose." "Is it, though?" Amanda leaned forward, grinning. "I mean, Jennifer's ex-boyfriend was pulling down 140 as a consultant, and he didn't even have to try." "Brandon was very ambitious," Patricia agreed. Jennifer touched my hand, squeezed it in that way that was supposed to be affectionate, but felt more like a warning. "Let's not talk about Brandon." "Why not?" Amanda pressed. "You brought him up yourself last week, said he's finally getting his life together after that rough patch." "How nice for him," I said evenly. Richard finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of someone used to being obeyed. "The question, young man, is when you plan to get serious about your career. 72,000 at your age is frankly embarrassing. Jennifer deserves better." "Dad," Jennifer said, but she was smiling. "I'm just being honest. A man should be able to provide properly. My daughter has expensive taste. Can you really meet her needs on pocket change?" Pocket change. $72,000 a year was pocket change. I thought about the $14,800. I thought about the transfers. I thought about the secret account. I thought about the messages I'd found. I smiled. "You're absolutely right," I said. "I should be more ambitious." Jennifer beamed at me like I'd finally said something intelligent. She didn't see the trap closing. None of them did. The waiter arrived with menus, reciting specials in that rehearsed way that made everything sound like poetry. Jennifer ordered the most expensive entree without looking at prices. Her family followed suit. I ordered something modest, knowing I'd be the only one paying for any of this. They didn't know that either. As we ate appetizers, the conversation turned to Jennifer's career, her accomplishments, her future trajectory. Every few minutes, someone would take a subtle shot at me, my job, my ambition, my worth. I let them talk. I ate my calamari. I waited. Because I knew something they didn't. I knew that in approximately 45 minutes, this dinner was going to detonate like a bomb, and when the dust settled, Jennifer's carefully constructed image would be in ruins. I just had to be patient. The discovery had happened that afternoon, mundane and devastating in equal measure. I'd been checking our shared savings account, planning to transfer money for our mortgage payment, when I noticed the balance was wrong. Significantly wrong. We should have had $23,000 saved. We had $8,200. $14,800. Gone. I'd stared at the screen, refreshing it twice, thinking there must be an error. There wasn't. The transfer had happened 3 weeks ago, a single large withdrawal labeled external transfer. Jennifer had been handling our finances lately. She'd insisted on it after her promotion, said she wanted to optimize our budget. I'd agreed because marriage was supposed to be about trust and partnership. I called the bank. The representative was sympathetic but firm. "Yes, sir. The transfer was authorized using the account holder's credentials. It went to a Zelle account registered to a B. Morrison. B. Morrison. Brandon Morrison. Jennifer's ex-boyfriend, Brandon Morrison. My stomach had dropped into my shoes. Can you tell me anything else about the transfer? I can see there's a memo. It says, bridge loan as discussed. Bridge loan. I'd thanked her, hung up, and sat in my home office for 10 minutes staring at nothing, my mind racing through possibilities, trying to find an innocent explanation. There wasn't one. I'd opened Jennifer's laptop. She kept it in the study, password protected, but I knew the password because she'd asked me to fix something on it months ago and never changed it. I wasn't proud of what I was about to do, but I needed to know. Her email was open. I searched for Brandon's name, 73 messages over the past 4 months. I started reading. The first few were innocuous. He'd reached out saying he was going through a rough patch financially, asked if she knew anyone hiring. She'd been sympathetic, supportive, then it escalated. I really appreciate you being there for me. Sarah never understood me the way you did. I made a mistake letting you go. I think about that a lot. I'm so glad we can still talk. You're the only person who really gets me. Jennifer's responses were enthusiastic, warm, intimate in a way that made my chest tight. I'm happy to help. We had something special. I think about us too sometimes. What could have been? Don't tell anyone, but things with my husband are complicated. He's stable, but there's no spark, you know? I'd kept reading, nausea building with each message. 6 weeks ago. I hate to ask, but I'm in real trouble. Lost my job. Rent is due. I might get evicted. Is there any way you could help me out? Just a loan until I get back on my feet? Jennifer. How much do you need? Brandon. Maybe $5,000? I know it's a lot. I'll pay you back as soon as I can. Jennifer. Let me figure something out. 3 weeks later. I found a shared account I set up years ago that my husband doesn't know about. I can transfer from there. Can you send me your Zelle info? Then the big transfer. $14,800. Not $5,000. Nearly 3 times what he'd asked for. Brandon's response. You're incredible. This is going to change everything for me. I can't thank you enough. Jennifer. Just get back on your feet. Maybe when you're stable, we can get coffee or something. I miss talking to you in person. Brandon. I'd love that. Does your husband know about this? Jennifer. No, and he won't. He thinks the money went to student loan payments. He doesn't pay attention to finances anyway. Too busy with his little computer job. My hands had been shaking by then. I'd found the account. She'd opened it under her maiden name 2 years ago. A small savings account she'd been funneling money into bit by bit. Birthday checks from her parents, tax returns, small transfers she thought I wouldn't notice. $23,000 accumulated over time, and she'd given nearly 2/3 of it to her ex-boyfriend, the man her family constantly compared me to, the man she missed talking to. I'd printed everything, the bank statements, the email thread, the account information. I'd saved it all to a secure drive. I'd forwarded key emails to my personal account. Then I'd called my attorney. I need to know my options, I'd told him. I need to know them fast. He'd listened to the situation, asked clarifying questions, then given me the advice that had shaped my evening plan. Document everything, protect your assets, file as soon as you're ready, and whatever you do, don't let her know you know until you've secured everything. What about joint accounts? You have the right to remove your name or freeze them. She has authorized user status on your credit cards? Yes. You can revoke that immediately. It's your credit, your liability. Legally, you're completely clear to protect yourself. I'd spent the next hour making calls. Credit card companies, the bank, our mortgage lender. One by one, I'd removed her access, flagged accounts, set restrictions. By the time I'd left for dinner, Jennifer's financial world had been locked behind doors only I had keys to. She just didn't know it yet. Now, sitting at this table, watching her laugh with her family while they mocked my salary and compared me to the man she'd given our savings to, I felt nothing but cold clarity. The entrees arrived. Jennifer's lamb cost $68. Her mother's seafood tower cost $95. Amanda had ordered the Wagyu beef at $112. Richard's steak was $74. I'd ordered chicken for $38. We ate. They talked. I smiled at appropriate moments and said little. Jennifer kept touching my arm, playing the role of devoted wife for her family's benefit. Isn't this nice? She said at one point. All of us together. Lovely, I agreed. We should do this more often. Make it a monthly thing? I don't know if we can afford monthly dinners here, I said carefully. Richard snorted. If you'd applied yourself, you could afford weekly dinners here. True, I said. I should have been more ambitious, like Brandon. The table went silent. Jennifer's hand tightened on my arm. "Why would you bring him up?" she asked, voice tight. "Your family keeps bringing him up. He seems very important to everyone." Patricia cleared her throat. "Brandon was a good man who made good money. That's simply a fact." "He was a consultant, right? Independent?" "Yes," Amanda said. "He was very successful." "Interesting. I heard he lost his job 6 months ago. Been struggling since then." Another silence, this one sharper. Jennifer's face had gone pale. "How would you know that?" "I pay attention," I said simply. "More than people think." The waiter arrived with dessert menus. Jennifer waved hers away. "I think we're ready for the check." "Certainly, ma'am. I'll bring it right over." Jennifer pulled out the credit card I'd given her authorized access to, the one she'd used to buy that designer bag this morning. She held it ready, already reaching for the check when the waiter returned. I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Jennifer asked. "Just checking something." The waiter presented the check in its leather folder. $467.32 plus suggested gratuity. Jennifer didn't even look at the total. She slipped the card into the folder and handed it back with a smile. "Thank you so much. The meal was wonderful." The waiter walked away. I opened my banking app. Found the credit card account, selected the option I'd set up earlier. Permanently block all authorized users. Confirm action. I tapped yes. We sat there making small talk for 3 minutes. Patricia complained about her book club. Amanda talked about her upcoming vacation. Richard pontificated about interest rates. Jennifer checked her phone, oblivious to what was coming. The waiter returned. His expression had changed. Apologetic, uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I'm very sorry, but this card has been declined." Jennifer blinked. "That's impossible. Try it again." "I ran it 3 times, ma'am. It's showing as blocked by the cardholder." "That makes no sense." She pulled out another card. "Try this one." Same card, different number. I'd given her 2 authorized user cards on the same account for convenience. The waiter took it, disappeared, came back with the same expression. "Also declined, ma'am. Same message." Jennifer's face flushed red. "This is ridiculous. There must be a computer error." She fumbled in her bag, pulled out a 3rd card. The joint checking account debit card. I'd frozen that account 2 hours ago. The waiter processed it, returned. "I'm very sorry, ma'am. This one says insufficient funds." The table had gone completely silent. Everyone was staring at Jennifer. "I don't understand," she said, voice rising. "These cards work. I used one this morning." "This morning was a long time ago," I said quietly. She turned to me, eyes wide. "What?" "The cards worked this morning. They don't work now." "What are you talking about?" I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the folded papers I'd printed. The bank statements, the emails, the transfer records. I placed them on the table in front of her. $14,800, I said calmly. "Transferred 3 weeks ago to Brandon Morrison, your ex-boyfriend, the one making double my salary who couldn't even keep his apartment." Jennifer's face went from red to white in an instant. Patricia reached for the papers. "What is this?" I slid them toward her. "Your daughter has been financially supporting her ex-boyfriend using money from a secret account. She's also been meeting him, messaging him, and apparently planning a future with him." "That's not true," Jennifer's voice cracked. "You're twisting things." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, opened the email screenshots, started reading. Quote, "Things with my husband are complicated. He's stable, but there's no spark." "Want me to continue?" "Stop it," she hissed. Quote, "He doesn't pay attention to finances anyway. Too busy with his little computer job." Amanda had grabbed the papers, was reading them with wide eyes. "Jennifer, you sent $14,000 to Brandon?" "It was a loan," Jennifer said desperately. "Just a loan. He was in trouble." "A loan," I repeated. "From a secret account you never told me about? To your ex-boyfriend, while lying to me about where the money went." Richard was reading over Amanda's shoulder, his face growing darker. "Jennifer Marie, what have you done?" "Nothing. I helped an old friend. That's all." "An old friend you're texting about getting coffee with?" Patricia's voice was icy. "An old friend you're saying you miss talking to in person?" Jennifer grabbed for the papers. "You went through my private messages? That's illegal." "It's not illegal to access a shared laptop," I said. "It's not illegal to check shared bank accounts. It's not illegal to protect myself from financial infidelity." "Financial infidelity isn't a real thing." "Tell that to the divorce attorney I met with today." The word divorce dropped like a grenade. Jennifer's mother gasped. Amanda's mouth fell open. Richard set down his wine glass carefully, deliberately. "You wouldn't," Jennifer whispered. I already did. Papers are being filed Monday morning. Over a misunderstanding. Over you stealing our savings to give to your ex-boyfriend while calling my salary pocket change. Over you lying to me for months. Over you planning a future with someone else while wearing the earrings I bought you. Tears started streaming down her face. I wasn't planning anything. You're overreacting. Am I? I looked at her family. She gave away nearly our entire emergency fund. She's been having an emotional relationship with another man. She's been lying to my face while her family mocks me at dinners I pay for. Tell me which part I'm misunderstanding. No one answered. The waiter returned, hovering awkwardly at a distance. I pulled out my personal credit card, the one that had never been in Jennifer's name, and handed it to him. I'll take care of it. Add 20% gratuity. Thank you, sir. As he walked away, I stood up. Wait, Jennifer said, grabbing my arm. We need to talk about this. No, we don't. You can't just leave me here like this. Watch me? How am I supposed to get home? I'll call Brandon. You gave him enough money for an Uber. I walked out of Marcello's and into the cool evening air, leaving my wife sobbing at a table with her family, surrounded by evidence of her betrayal, unable to pay for the dinner she'd ordered. I'd never felt more free in my life. My phone started ringing before I'd even reached my car. Jennifer. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. Declined? Again? Declined. I drove home in silence, mind clear, heart steady. There was no satisfaction exactly, no triumphant joy, just the calm certainty of knowing I'd done exactly what needed to be done. The house was dark when I arrived. I went inside, locked the door behind me, and sat in the living room waiting. She arrived 45 minutes later. I heard her car in the driveway, her key in the lock, her footsteps in the hall. We need to talk, she said, standing in the doorway. Her makeup was ruined, mascara streaked down her face. The designer bag hung from her arm like an accusation. No, we don't. You humiliated me in front of my family. You humiliated yourself. I just provided the evidence. She threw the bag on the floor. This is insane. You went through my private messages, you blocked my cards, you're filing for divorce over a loan to a friend. Stop calling him a friend. He's your ex-boyfriend. And you gave him $15,000 of our money while telling him you missed him and wanted to meet up. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Jennifer? Explain it to me. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. He needed help. I helped him, that's all. You lied to me. You hid money. You had an emotional relationship with another man. You mocked me to him and to your family. Which part of that is helping a friend? I never mocked you. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the screenshots. Your little computer job. He's stable but boring. He doesn't even notice. Should I keep reading? Those were just vents. Everyone complains about their spouse sometimes. To their friends, yes. To their ex-boyfriend they're sending thousands of dollars to. That's different. You're blowing this out of proportion. Am I? Tell me honestly, Jennifer. If I'd discovered this and just asked you about it, what would you have said? She didn't answer. Would you have admitted it? Would you have apologized? Or would you have lied and gaslit me until I believed I was crazy for being suspicious? Silence. That's what I thought. She sank onto the couch, head in her hands. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Can we please just work through this? No. Why not? Marriages survive worse than this. Maybe, but I don't want to. She looked up at me, genuinely shocked. What? I don't want to work through this. I don't want couples counseling. I don't want to rebuild trust. I want a divorce. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest. For the first time in months, I'm seeing our marriage clearly, and I don't like what I see. Which is what? A woman who thinks her husband is boring and beneath her. A woman who compares him to her ex-boyfriend. A woman whose family openly mocks him at dinners he pays for. A woman who steals money to give to another man and lies about it. I didn't steal anything. It was our money. Money you took without telling me, from a secret account I didn't know existed, to give to a man you've been emotionally involved with. If that's not stealing, it's close enough. I was going to tell you eventually. When? After you'd drained the account completely? After you'd moved in with him? That was never the plan. What was the plan, Jennifer? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you were keeping Brandon warm as a backup option while enjoying the stability I provided. Best of both worlds, right? The reliable husband who pays the bills and the exciting ex-boyfriend you really want to be with. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. You taught me that tonight when your father called my salary pocket change. She was crying again. I told him not to say that. No, you didn't. You laughed. You all laughed. And you know what the really funny part is? You gave Brandon nearly $15,000 while mocking my $72,000 salary. If my income is pocket change, what does that make the money you gave away? Lint? I'm sorry. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. That's not true. Isn't it? If I hadn't discovered the account, would you have stopped talking to him? Would you have told me the truth? Or would you have just gotten better at hiding it? She didn't answer. I walked to the stairs. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow I'm changing the locks. You have until Monday to find somewhere else to stay. You can't kick me out. This is my house, too. Actually, it's not. The house is in my name. We're not in a community property state. Check with your attorney if you don't believe me. What attorney? I can't afford an attorney. You could have, before you gave our savings to Brandon. This is cruel. No, it's consequences. You made choices. Now you live with them. I started up the stairs. I love you, she called after me. I stopped, looked back at her. No, you don't. You love what I provide. There's a difference. I went upstairs, closed the door, and slept better than I had in months. The next day was Saturday. I woke early, had coffee, and started making calls. First, the locksmith. He could come that afternoon. Second, my attorney. I left a message confirming everything was in motion. Third, my bank. I scheduled an appointment for Monday morning to fully separate our accounts and remove Jennifer's access to anything remaining. Jennifer stayed locked in our bedroom all morning. I could hear her on the phone, her voice rising and falling, probably calling her family or friends, telling them her version of events. Around noon, her mother showed up. I answered the door. Patricia stood there in her tennis outfit, her face a mask of controlled fury. We need to talk, she announced. About what? About how you're treating my daughter. You mean how I'm responding to her stealing money and lying to me? She made a mistake. Marriages require forgiveness. They also require honesty. She had neither. You humiliated her in front of her entire family. She humiliated me in front of her entire family for 3 years. Last night was just the first time anyone noticed. Patricia's eyes narrowed. You've always been too sensitive. And you've always been too critical. I think we understand each other perfectly. If you go through with this divorce, you'll regret it. I doubt that. Jennifer is a catch. You won't find better. I'll certainly find different. That's enough. You're being vindictive. I'm being practical. Your daughter committed financial infidelity. She maintained an inappropriate relationship with her ex. She lied repeatedly. Those aren't small mistakes. Those are fundamental betrayals. All relationships have rough patches. This wasn't a rough patch. This was a pattern of deception. Patricia looked past me, calling toward the stairs. Jennifer, come down here. Jennifer appeared at the top of the stairs, still in pajamas, eyes red and swollen. Tell him, Patricia ordered. Tell him you'll break off contact with Brandon. Tell him you'll do whatever it takes. Jennifer looked at me, hope flickering in her expression. I will. I'll block him. I'll delete everything. We can start over. No, I said simply. Why not? Patricia demanded. Because I don't want to. This isn't about punishment or revenge. It's about recognizing that our marriage was broken long before I discovered the money. The money was just the final piece of evidence. What are you talking about? Jennifer asked. When's the last time you said something genuinely kind to me? When's the last time you supported one of my decisions without criticizing it? When's the last time we had a conversation where you didn't compare me to someone else? She opened her mouth, closed it. You can't remember, can you? Because it's been years. Probably since before we got married. You settled for me, Jennifer. You settled for stable and boring because Brandon wasn't available. And the moment he came back into your life and needed help, you jumped at the chance to be his hero. That's not true. It's completely true. And if I'd been enough for you, you wouldn't have needed to find fulfillment in saving your ex-boyfriend. Patricia stepped forward. You're being incredibly selfish. Think about what divorce will do to Jennifer's reputation. I am thinking about it. I'm also thinking about what staying married to someone who doesn't respect me would do to my mental health. I choose my mental health. You'll never find someone who loves you like Jennifer does. Good. I want someone who loves me differently. Someone who doesn't think my salary is pocket change. Someone who doesn't mock me to their ex. Someone who doesn't steal our savings. It wasn't stealing. Call it what you want. The result is the same. $14,800 gone. Trust gone. Marriage gone. The locksmith arrived then, pulling into the driveway. I stepped outside to meet him. Wait, Jennifer called. You can't change the locks. I absolutely can. This is my house. You can collect your things under supervision, but you don't live here anymore. Where am I supposed to go? Your parents have a house. Brandon has an apartment you helped pay for. Figure it out. I spent the next 2 hours with the locksmith while Patricia and Jennifer stood in the driveway making calls. I could hear Jennifer crying, Patricia's voice sharp and authoritative as she tried to manage the situation. When the locks were changed, I went back inside and started packing Jennifer's belongings. Clothes, shoes, jewelry, toiletries, the designer bag from yesterday. I put everything in boxes and carried them out to the garage. Jennifer watched, helpless, as her life was packed away. "This is really happening," she said softly. "Yes. I never meant to hurt you." "I believe that. You never thought about me enough to mean anything." That landed. I saw it in her face. By evening, everything was done, and new locks, packed boxes, clear boundaries. "You have until tomorrow evening to move your things," I told her. "After that, I'm donating whatever's left." Where am I supposed to take it all? Not my problem anymore. Patricia drove Jennifer away around 6. I watched them go, then went inside, ordered pizza, and watched a movie I'd been wanting to see for months, but Jennifer had always vetoed. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages from Jennifer's friends, her sister, her cousins, all telling me I was making a mistake, I was being cruel, I should reconsider. I blocked every number. Around midnight, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. "Hello?" "Hey man, this is Brandon." I sat up straight. "How did you get this number?" "Jennifer gave it to me. Look, I wanted to call because this whole thing is kind of messed up." "You're telling me?" "I didn't know she was taking money from your savings. She said it was her money from before the marriage." "She lied." "Yeah, I'm figuring that out. She also kind of showed up at my place tonight asking if she could stay here for a while." I almost laughed. "Did you let her?" "Hell no, I'm not getting in the middle of your marriage drama. Plus, I have a girlfriend. Jennifer knows that." "She does?" "Yeah, I mentioned Sarah in like half my emails. Jennifer just ignored it, I guess. She's been acting like we're going to get back together or something." "Are you?" "Dude, no. We broke up for a reason. She's exhausting. Always needs to be the center of attention, always has drama. I was with her for 2 years, and it was the worst relationship of my life." "Then why did you take her money?" He was quiet for a moment. "Because I needed it, and she offered. I didn't ask for 14,000, I asked for 5. She insisted on sending more, said she wanted to help me get fully back on my feet." "Generous." "In retrospect, yeah, too generous. I think she was trying to make herself indispensable to me. Like if she helped enough, I'd owe her something." "Did it work?" "No. I've been sending her job listings and telling her about my girlfriend. She keeps steering conversations back to us and our connection. It's uncomfortable." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she's blowing up my phone saying you kicked her out and won't talk to her and she has nowhere to go. I felt like you should know she tried to crash here, and I said no. I'm not part of whatever this is." "Good to know." "For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Jennifer needs to hit rock bottom before she figures her life out. She's been skating on looks and charm for too long." "Thanks for the call." "Yeah, and hey, about the money, I can start paying it back if you want. It'll take a while, but I can do like $500 a month or something." "Keep it. Consider it a stupid tax Jennifer paid for her choices." He laughed. "All right then. Good luck, man." He hung up. I sat there in the dark, processing the conversation. Jennifer had been so confident Brandon would take her in. She'd built this whole fantasy where he was pining for her, waiting for her, ready to restart their relationship, and he'd shut the door in her face. Perfect. Monday morning, I went to work like nothing had changed. My boss asked how my weekend was. I said fine. My coworkers talked about their plans. I listened and contributed appropriately. No one knew my marriage had ended in a spectacular public implosion. At lunch, I met my attorney at his office. "Everything's filed," he confirmed. "She'll be served within 48 hours. Do you anticipate problems?" "She doesn't have money for an attorney." "She could get one on contingency if she thinks there's money to fight for." "There isn't. The house is mine. My retirement accounts are mine. The cars are titled in my name. We have no shared assets except the checking account we're closing today." "What about her argument that she deserves support?" "She has a job. She makes $60,000 a year. She can support herself." "What about the money she gave to her ex?" "That was from an account in her name. Technically her money, even if she hid it. I can't claim that was marital property when she specifically kept it separate." "Smart of her." "Not smart enough. She still lost everything else." We reviewed the paperwork, signed documents, confirmed timelines. By the time I left, the divorce was in motion like a machine, grinding forward on its own momentum. I stopped at the bank afterward, closed the joint checking account, opened a new personal account, transferred everything. The bank manager was sympathetic. "I'm sorry you're going through this." "I'm not. I'm relieved." She looked surprised, but nodded. Sometimes the end of something is the beginning of something better. Exactly. That evening, I came home to find Jennifer sitting on the porch. She'd clearly been there a while. Her makeup was smudged, her clothes wrinkled. "You can't be here," I said. "Please, just hear me out." "There's nothing to hear. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, I'll pay you back every penny. Just don't do this." "It's already done. You'll be served tomorrow." "I don't understand why you're being so heartless." "I'm not heartless. I'm just done carrying the weight of a relationship you stopped caring about years ago." "I do care. I love you. You love what I provide. Stability, financial security, a nice house. But me? The actual person? I don't think you've liked me in years." She started crying. "That's not true." "Name 3 things you love about me, not what I do for you, who I am." She opened her mouth. Silence stretched between us. "You can't, can you? You're putting me on the spot. I'm asking you to name 3 qualities you admire about your husband. If you loved me, that should be easy." More silence. "That's what I thought." I walked past her to the door. "You need to leave." "Where am I supposed to go?" "Your parents, a hotel, a friend's place. I don't care." "They won't let me stay. Mom said I made my bed, and now I have to lie in it." "Sounds about right. My friends are all taking your side. They think I'm a terrible person. Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. Either way, it's not my problem anymore. How can you be so cold? How can you be so shocked? You gave our savings to another man. You lied to my face. You let your family mock me for years. What did you think would happen when I found out? I thought you'd forgive me. Why would you think that? Because you always forgive me. When I overspend, when I criticize you, when I make plans without asking, you just accept it and move on. I don't move on. I've been keeping score for 3 years. You just never noticed." That stopped her. "Keeping score? Every insult. Every comparison to Brandon, every family dinner where I was the joke, every time you chose something you wanted over something we needed, every lie and dismissal and moment of contempt. I kept track of all of it. Why? Because I knew eventually we'd end up here, and I wanted to remember why. That's sick. That's self-preservation. You were drowning me slowly, Jennifer. I just decided to swim to shore before I went under completely." She stood up, wobbling slightly. "I hope you're happy." "I'm not happy. I'm free. There's a difference." She walked to her car, got in, and drove away. I never saw her again in person for months. The divorce process was more complicated than my attorney had initially suggested. Jennifer, despite having no money for representation, managed to file a response claiming I had hidden assets and requesting spousal support. "This is ridiculous," I told my attorney over the phone. "I showed her every account. There are no hidden assets." "She's fishing," he replied calmly, "hoping to find something that'll give her leverage. We'll respond with full financial disclosure. When she can't prove her claims, the judge will see through it." "How long will this take?" "Could be 3 months, could be 6, depends on how reasonable she wants to be." She didn't want to be reasonable. Jennifer dragged out every step, requested document after document, challenged valuations, claimed she deserved half the house despite it being solely in my name and purchased before our marriage. "She's trying to bleed you dry in legal fees," my attorney explained. "Classic stalling tactic. She thinks eventually you'll offer a settlement just to make it stop. I won't. Good, because you'll win. It'll just take time." During those months, I started hearing stories. Friends of friends who'd run into Jennifer, who'd heard her version of events. According to her narrative, I'd been financially controlling throughout our marriage. I'd monitored her spending, criticized her purchases, refused to let her have independence. The secret account wasn't deception, it was self-preservation. The money to Brandon wasn't infidelity, it was helping a friend escape judgment. And the dinner? That was calculated cruelty designed to humiliate her. It was masterful revision of history, almost impressive in its audacity. My friend Tom called me one night. "Hey, I heard something weird at the gym today. Some woman was talking about her friend whose husband had abused her financially and then humiliated her publicly. Took me a minute to realize she was talking about Jennifer. About you?" "What did she say exactly?" "That you controlled all the money, that Jennifer had to ask permission for everything, that you screamed at her in restaurants. It was wild, man. Completely different from what actually happened. Did you correct her? I thought about it. But then I figured, what's the point? People who want to believe Jennifer's version will believe it no matter what I say. He was right. Over the next weeks, I heard variations of the story repeated. Each one painted me as a villain and Jennifer as a victim. The irony was that the people spreading these stories didn't actually know me. They were friends of Jennifer's family, co-workers who'd met me once at a party, distant acquaintances who'd heard the gossip third hand. Anyone who actually knew me, who'd spent real time around us as a couple, reached out privately to say they believed my version. My coworker Sarah pulled me aside one day. I heard some stuff going around about you and your ex. Just wanted you to know I don't believe it for a second. I met Jennifer at the Christmas party, remember? She spent the whole night talking about designer bags and complaining that you wouldn't rent a ski house. She didn't strike me as someone struggling under financial control. Thanks for saying that. Also, I saw the way she talked to you. A lot of little cuts disguised as jokes. My ex-husband did that to me. I recognize the pattern. I appreciate you noticing. You're better off without her. Trust me. Those conversations helped. Knowing that people who'd actually witnessed our dynamic understood the truth made Jennifer's revision less painful. 3 months in, her attorney withdrew from the case. Turns out she'd been expecting to work on contingency but had discovered there was no money to fight for. Without payment and without potential payoff, he refused to continue. Jennifer tried to represent herself, filed motions that made no legal sense, showed up to court dates unprepared, argued emotionally instead of factually. The judge grew increasingly impatient. Finally, at month 4, he called us both into chambers. "Mrs. Bradley," he said, using her maiden name since she'd legally changed back, "I've reviewed your claims. You've provided no evidence of hidden assets. You've shown no legal basis for spousal support given that you're employed and earn a reasonable salary. You failed to demonstrate any right to property that was purchased and titled solely in your husband's name before your marriage. But, Your Honor, I'm not finished. You've also wasted this court's time with frivolous motions and unfounded accusations. I'm granting the divorce as filed by Mr. Thompson. No spousal support, no property division beyond what he's already agreed to, which is letting you keep your personal vehicle. You have 30 days to remove your name from any remaining joint accounts. That's my final ruling." Jennifer looked stunned. "That's not fair." "Mrs. Bradley, you committed financial infidelity, maintained an inappropriate relationship with an ex-partner, and lied repeatedly to your spouse. The fact that you're leaving this marriage with anything at all is more fairness than you deserve. We're done here." The divorce was finalized that day. I walked out of the courthouse into afternoon sunshine, feeling like I'd dropped 100 pounds of weight I didn't know I'd been carrying. Jennifer caught up with me in the parking lot. "This isn't over," she said. "I'll appeal. I'll find a way to prove you hid money." "You do that. Enjoy wasting more time and money you don't have." "You destroyed my life." "No, Jennifer, you destroyed your life. I just stopped letting you destroy mine, too." "My family won't speak to me. My friends abandoned me. I can't afford my apartment. All because you couldn't forgive one mistake." "It wasn't one mistake. It was 3 years of mistakes that I ignored until I couldn't anymore. I loved you. You loved my usefulness. There's a difference." She started crying. "I have nothing now. No husband, no family support, no savings. You took everything. I took what was mine. You gave away what was yours. Those were your choices. How can you be so heartless? How can you still think you're the victim here?" She had no answer for that. I got in my car and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot of the courthouse where our marriage officially ended. That night, I went out with friends for the first time in years. Jennifer had always found reasons why we couldn't do group hangouts. Too loud, too late, too boring, too expensive. Without her veto power, I realized how many experiences I'd been missing. We went to a sports bar, watched a game, talked about nothing important. It was perfect. Tom raised his beer. "To freedom." "To freedom," I echoed. "You seem different," he observed. "Lighter." "I feel lighter, like I've been holding my breath for years, and finally exhaled." "Jennifer really did a number on you, huh?" "She did, but it's over now. Really, truly over." "Any regrets about how you handled the dinner thing?" I thought about it. No, she needed to understand that actions have consequences. Being humiliated in front of her family was harsh, but so was 3 years of them mocking me while I paid for everything. Fair point. Plus, it makes a great story. He was right about that. Over the next months, the story of the dinner spread through our social circle. Most people found it justified. A few thought I'd gone too far. I didn't care about either reaction. I'd done what I needed to do to protect myself and end a toxic situation. Anyone who couldn't understand that didn't know the full context. She moved back in with her parents after the divorce finalized. I heard it went poorly. Her father apparently told her she'd made her bed and needed to lie in it. Her mother was sympathetic but firm that Jennifer needed to take responsibility for her choices. The family unity that had been so strong against me fractured when they couldn't avoid the truth anymore. Jennifer had stolen money. Jennifer had lied. Jennifer had been planning to leave me for her ex-boyfriend. Those facts didn't care about spin or narrative control. Amanda, her sister, reached out to me 6 months post-divorce. "I wanted to apologize," she said over the phone. "We were terrible to you. All those dinners, all those comments about your job and your salary, it was cruel and unnecessary." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I saw how Jennifer treated her new boyfriend. Same pattern, constant criticism, comparisons to exes, unrealistic expectations. It made me realize she'd been doing that to you the whole time, and we'd enabled it by joining in." "You did." "I'm sorry. Truly. You deserved better from all of us." "Thanks for saying that." For what it's worth, Jennifer's not doing well. She's bitter and angry and blames everyone but herself. I think hitting rock bottom would be good for her, but she keeps finding ways to avoid it. That's not my problem anymore. "I know. I just thought you should know she's not thriving off your misery or anything. She's pretty miserable herself." "I don't take pleasure in that, but I don't feel bad about it either." "That's fair. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. You seem happier in the photos I've seen on social media." "I am happier, significantly." We hung up. I thought about Amanda's apology. It was genuine. I believed that. But it also didn't change anything. The damage had been done. The relationship was over. I didn't need their apologies or their understanding. I just needed them out of my life. My social circle expanded post-divorce. Without Jennifer's constant veto on plans and people, I reconnected with old friends, made new ones, explored hobbies she'd dismissed as boring. I joined a hiking group. Every Saturday morning, rain or shine, we'd hit a different trail. The physical challenge was good, but the social aspect was better. People who just wanted to walk, talk, and enjoy nature without drama or judgment. One of the hikers, a woman named Lisa, asked me one morning, "You always seem so relaxed. What's your secret?" "I divorced a woman who made me stressed. Best decision of my life." She laughed. That's the most honest answer I've ever heard. I try to be honest these days. Wasted too many years being diplomatic and swallowing my real feelings. "That'll wear you down." It did, but I'm better now. We hiked in companionable silence for a while. Then she said, "My ex-husband was like that. Made me feel small constantly. Took me 3 years after the divorce to feel like myself again." "How long were you married?" 7 years. You?" 3. "You got out quicker than I did. Smart." "I got lucky. I discovered proof she was lying, and that gave me the clarity to leave. Without that, I might have stayed and stayed and stayed until I forgot who I was completely." "What kind of proof?" I told her about the secret account, the transfers to Brandon, the emails. She listened without interrupting. Wow, she really thought she'd get away with that. She did get away with it. For months. Would have continued if I hadn't randomly checked the savings account that day. "Do you think about what would have happened if you hadn't found out?" "Sometimes. I think eventually she would have left me for Brandon or someone like him. She was just using me as a comfortable place to stay until something better came along." That's rough. It was. But it's also freeing to know I wasn't crazy. All those times I felt like something was wrong. Something was wrong. I wasn't paranoid or insecure. I was responding to real deception. Validation matters. It really does. I dated casually for a while. Nothing serious. Women I met through friends, through dating apps, through social activities. Some lasted a few dates. Some lasted a few months. None of them lasted long enough to become serious. I wasn't ready for serious. Maybe wouldn't be for a long time. One woman, Michelle, asked me after our 3rd date, "Are you actually over your ex, or are you just saying that?" "I'm over her. Why?" "Because you mention her sometimes. Little comments, comparisons." "Bad comparisons?" "No, good ones, like my ex hated hiking or my ex never wanted to try new restaurants. It's like you're cataloging all the ways I'm different from her." "Is that bad?" "It's not bad, but it means she's still taking up space in your head." She was right. Even in being grateful for what I had now, I was still defining it against what I'd had before. "You're probably right," I admitted. "I thought I was past it, but maybe I'm still processing." "That's okay. Divorce is trauma. You don't just get over trauma because the paperwork is signed." We stopped seeing each other after that conversation, not because either of us was upset, but because she deserved someone who was fully present and I wasn't there yet. A year after the divorce, I went to therapy. "Why now?" my therapist asked during our first session. "The divorce was a year ago. Why seek help now instead of right after?" "Because I thought I was fine. I thought getting away from her was enough, but I'm realizing I'm still carrying damage." "What kind of damage?" "I don't trust easily. I second-guess compliments. I'm always waiting for criticism disguised as jokes. Someone says something nice about my work or my appearance, and I'm analyzing it for hidden insults." "That's hypervigilance, common in people who've been in emotionally abusive relationships." "Was my marriage emotionally abusive?" "What do you think?" I considered it. She criticized me constantly. She mocked my career in front of others. She compared me unfavorably to her ex. She lied about money and blamed me for being controlling when I discovered it. She let her family treat me like I was less than human. Is that abuse? It's a pattern of behavior designed to diminish your sense of self-worth while maintaining her power in the relationship. So yes, I'd classify that as emotional abuse. Hearing it stated plainly was startling. I'd thought abuse required yelling or obvious cruelty. I hadn't realized that subtle, consistent undermining counted too. Over the next months, therapy helped me unpack 3 years of marriage and understand patterns I'd normalized. The way Jennifer would agree to plans, then change them last minute without consulting me. The way she'd spend money without discussion but criticize any purchases I made. The way she'd tell stories that made me look foolish or incompetent to friends and family. The way she'd apologize for hurting me but never change the behavior. Death by 1,000 cuts. Each one small enough to ignore. Together, devastating. "Do you still think about her?" my therapist asked during one session. "Less than I used to. More than I'd like." "What triggers thoughts of her?" "Situations that remind me of her patterns. Someone makes a joke at my expense and I'm back at that dinner table. Someone questions my career choices and I hear her father's voice asking when I'll get serious. Those are trauma responses. Your brain is trying to protect you from repeating painful experiences. How do I stop it? You don't stop it. You recognize it, acknowledge it, and choose a different response. The triggers will fade over time as you build new, positive experiences that override the old, negative ones. She was right. Slowly, gradually, the triggers lost power. I met Rachel 2 years after the divorce, long after I'd stopped looking and started just living. She worked at the coffee shop I frequented. We'd exchanged pleasantries for months before she finally asked if I wanted to grab dinner sometime. "Is that allowed?" I asked, asking out customers. "Probably not. But you tip well, and you've never been creepy, so I'm taking a chance." I liked her immediately, direct, honest, no games. Our first date was at a casual restaurant. Nothing fancy. We split an appetizer and talked for 3 hours. "So what's your story?" she asked over shared nachos. "My story?" "Yeah. You come into the coffee shop every morning at 7:15. You order the same thing. You're polite but distant. You tip 20% exactly every time. You're clearly successful enough to afford daily coffee, but you don't dress flashy. You're either extremely organized or hiding from something." I laughed. That's quite an analysis from selling me lattes. "I'm observant. Occupational hazard of working customer service. So which is it, organized or hiding?" "Maybe both. I'm divorced. 2 years now. Still figuring out who I am without that relationship defining me." "Bad divorce? Is there any other kind?" "Fair point. What happened, if you don't mind me asking?" I gave her the abbreviated version. The secret account. The money to the ex-boyfriend, the family dinner where I'd blocked her cards and revealed everything. Rachel listened intently, her expression shifting from curiosity to surprise to something like approval. "So you basically ended your marriage in the most dramatic way possible." "I guess I did." "That's either incredibly satisfying or incredibly petty depending on perspective." "Which perspective do you have?" She grinned. "Incredibly satisfying. She humiliated you for years. You got one night of payback. Seems fair to me." "Not everyone agrees. Some people think I was cruel." "Those people probably haven't been in a relationship where they're slowly made to feel worthless. I have. My ex was a master at subtle put-downs, always framed as concern or jokes, but designed to keep me small and controllable." "How'd you get out?" "He cheated. Badly, like got caught in our bed with someone from his gym. Couldn't deny it, couldn't spin it. Just had to own it." "What did you do?" "Took photos for evidence, called a locksmith, had the locks changed while he was at work the next day, left his stuff in the garage. Never spoke to him again except through lawyers. Clean break. Only way to do it. If I'd given him a chance to explain or apologize, he would have talked me into staying. I know myself. I'm too forgiving. So I cut off all contact and forced myself to move forward. Do you regret it? Not for a second. Best decision I ever made. Even though I lost friends in the split, even though his family harassed me for months, even though everyone said I was being too harsh. I knew if I stayed, I'd lose myself completely. We understood each other in a way that didn't require explanation. Both survivors of relationships that had slowly diminished us. Both people who'd chosen themselves when that choice was hardest. Our relationship developed slowly. No rush. We'd both learned that rushing led to repeating patterns. 6 months in, I met her parents. They were warm, welcoming, genuinely interested in my work and my life. No subtle jabs, no comparisons to ex-boyfriends. Just normal conversation. At dinner, her father asked about my job. I explained network security, expecting the usual dismissive response. That sounds fascinating, he said, and important. Companies can't function without solid security infrastructure. You must have a lot of responsibility. I almost choked on my water. Someone who understood, someone who saw value in what I did. It's rewarding work, I managed. Challenging but rewarding. I imagine the technology changes constantly. Do you have to do a lot of continuing education? I take certification courses every year. The field evolves fast. Good for you. Staying current is crucial. Rachel smiled at me across the table, seeing my reaction to her father's genuine interest. After dinner, as we drove home, she said, "You seemed surprised that Dad asked about your work." I'm not used to people caring. Jennifer's family treated my job like it was embarrassing. What did you do to make decent money? $72,000 when we divorced. $85,000 now. That's a solid salary. What was their problem? Not 6 figures. Not impressive enough. Not ambitious enough. That's insane. You make good money doing important work. Anyone who can't see that is blind. Your parents seem really supportive. They are. They believe in building people up, not tearing them down. It's kind of their whole philosophy. I'd never experienced that kind of family dynamic. It was revelatory. A year into dating Rachel, Brandon reached out again. The message came through LinkedIn. "Hey man, long time. Wanted to give you a heads up that Jennifer's been trying to contact me again. Thought you should know in case she's reaching out to you too." I replied, "We're divorced. What she does isn't my concern. I get that, but she's been showing up at places I frequent. My gym, my favorite lunch spot, the bar near my apartment. It's getting uncomfortable." "Have you told her to stop?" "Multiple times. She says she's just in the neighborhood, or didn't know I'd be there. But it's too frequent to be coincidence. That's stalking. You could file a police report." "I might have to. She's also been messaging my girlfriend saying we're meant to be together and I'm making a mistake. Sarah's getting pretty fed up. Not surprising. Jennifer doesn't handle rejection well." "Did she do this to you after the divorce?" "She tried. Showed up at my house a few times, called from different numbers. I blocked everything and eventually she stopped." "How long did that take?" "About 4 months. Then she either gave up or found a new target." "Great. Now, so I have 4 months of this to look forward to." "Maybe. Or maybe document everything and file for a restraining order now. Don't wait for it to escalate." "Good advice, thanks." "No problem. And Brandon?" "Yeah?" "That money she gave you. Did you ever pay any of it back?" Long pause. "Some of it. Like 3,000. Then she started the stalking thing, and I stopped. Felt like paying her was encouraging contact." "Fair enough. Keep the rest. You've earned it dealing with her nonsense." He laughed. "You're all right, man. I thought you'd hate me." "I did for a while. Then I realized you were just another person she manipulated. She made us both believe things that weren't true." "She's good at that." "She really is. Good luck with the stalking situation." "Thanks. And hey, I saw on social media you're with someone new. She looks nice." "She is. Complete opposite of Jennifer in every way that matters." "That's how you know you picked right." We ended the conversation. I told Rachel about it that evening. "Your ex is stalking her ex?" she said, eyebrows raised. "That's next-level dysfunction. Apparently she can't accept that he doesn't want her. Or she's built this fantasy where he's the one that got away, and if she just persists enough, he'll realize they belong together." Sounds exhausting. It is, for everyone involved. I had a friend who did something similar after her breakup. Showed up everywhere her ex went, convinced herself it was fate when it was just her checking his social media and planning accordingly. "What happened?" He got a restraining order. She violated it. Spent a weekend in jail. That finally snapped her out of it. Jail seems harsh. It was a wake-up call. Sometimes people need that. They get so deep in their own narrative that only external consequences can break through. Think Jennifer will end up with consequences? If she keeps harassing Brandon and his girlfriend? Absolutely. You can't repeatedly show up where someone works and lives and call it coincidence. That's documented stalking behavior. 3 weeks later, Brandon sent another message. Filed the restraining order. Jennifer showed up at my apartment building at 2 a.m. last night. Building security called the cops. She told them she just wanted to talk to me. They told her to leave. She refused. They arrested her for trespassing. Did you press charges? Yeah, felt like I had to. She needs to understand this isn't okay. How's Sarah handling it? She's actually been great. Very supportive. Understands this is Jennifer's problem, not mine. But it's still stressful, you know? I know. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing. Jennifer needs clear boundaries and consequences. Without them, she'll never stop. That's what the cop said. Said people like her escalate until they're forced to stop. Jennifer was charged with misdemeanor trespassing. She spent a night in jail before her parents bailed her out. The restraining order was approved based on the pattern of behavior Brandon documented. I heard about all of this through mutual acquaintances who relished the drama. Everyone loved a story about someone's fall from grace. Did you hear Jennifer got arrested? My old coworker Sam asked at a happy hour. I heard. Crazy, right? She completely fell apart after you guys divorced. She was falling apart before. The divorce just made it visible. Still, arrested for stalking. That's intense. It's sad. She needs help, but she's too proud to admit it. Do you ever feel bad? Like maybe the way you ended things contributed to her spiral? I thought about it honestly. No, I'm responsible for my choices. She's responsible for hers. I ended our marriage publicly because she'd humiliated me publicly for years. What she did after that divorce was her choice. That's fair. Just seems like she never recovered. Some people don't. Some people get stuck in the anger and blame and never move forward. That's not my fault, and it's not my problem. Sam nodded. You seem good. Happy? I am happy. For the first time in years. The new girlfriend? Rachel, and yeah, she's part of it. But mostly it's just being free. No more criticism, no more comparisons, no more walking on eggshells. I can just exist. That's what relationships should be. That's what I always thought. Now I actually have one that is. 2.5 years after the divorce, Jennifer's sister Amanda reached out again. I need to ask you something, she said on the phone. Jennifer wants to meet with you. She says she's in therapy now, and her therapist suggested making amends with people she's hurt. No. Just like that? No consideration? Just like that. I don't owe her closure or forgiveness or a chance to make amends. She made her choices. I made mine. We're done. She's really changed. She's taking responsibility now. Good for her. She can take responsibility without me being involved. Don't you think you owe her at least a conversation? I don't owe her anything. And the fact that you think I do tells me you still don't understand what she did. I understand she made mistakes. She didn't make mistakes. She made choices. She chose to open a secret account. She chose to give away our savings. She chose to lie about it. She chose to maintain an inappropriate relationship with her ex. Those weren't mistakes. Those were deliberate actions. People can change. Maybe, but that's not my concern. She can change for her next relationship. This one is over. You're being really cold. I'm being really clear. There's a difference. Amanda sighed. Fine. I'll tell her you're not interested. But for the record, I think you're making this harder than it needs to be. For the record, I think you're still making excuses for her behavior. Nothing's changed there. She hung up without saying goodbye. Rachel asked about the call that evening. Jennifer wants to meet, claims she's changed and wants to make amends. How do you feel about that? I don't. I feel nothing about it. She's a closed chapter. But you were married, 3 years of history. Doesn't that mean something? It means I learned what I don't want in a relationship. Beyond that, no. It doesn't mean anything. What if she has genuinely changed? Then I'm happy for her future relationships. But that doesn't require me to give her forgiveness or closure or whatever her therapist thinks she needs. You're allowed to say no. I am saying no, firmly and finally. Good. I just wanted to make sure you weren't avoiding it because you still have feelings. The only feeling I have about Jennifer is relief that she's not my problem anymore. Rachel smiled. That's healthy. Is it? Sometimes I wonder if I should be more forgiving, more willing to give people second chances. Why? What would that accomplish? I don't know. Some kind of emotional closure, maybe? Closure is something you give yourself, not something other people give you. You already have closure. You don't need her permission or participation to have it. She was right. I'd already processed the marriage, the betrayal, the divorce. Meeting with Jennifer wouldn't add anything. It would just reopen old wounds for her benefit, not mine. 3 years after the divorce, I proposed to Rachel. We were hiking, same trail where we'd had that first real conversation about our exes and our damage. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. This spot, I said, this is where I started believing I could be happy again. It's beautiful. You made it beautiful. You made everything beautiful. I pulled out the ring. Simple, elegant, nothing ostentatious. Rachel's style, exactly. Will you marry me? She started crying. Yes, absolutely yes. We got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, close friends, no drama. Her parents walked her down the aisle. My brother was my best man. Everything Jennifer's family said I'd never have, I had. A partner who respected me. A family who valued me. A relationship built on honesty and mutual support. The salary question came up once, briefly, when Rachel's aunt asked what I did for work. Network security. I make about $98,000. That's wonderful, she said without hesitation. Technology fields are so important now. No mockery, no comparisons, no judgment, just acceptance. After the wedding, Tom pulled me aside. You did it, man. You really rebuilt your life. I did. You ever think about Jennifer? Wonder what she's doing? Honestly, no. She's completely irrelevant to my life now. That's how you know you won. This wasn't about winning. It was about surviving and then thriving. Same thing in divorce. Maybe he was right. Maybe the best revenge wasn't the dramatic dinner revelation or the blocked cards or the public humiliation. Maybe the best revenge was building a life so good that the person who hurt you became completely irrelevant to it. Jennifer had thought my salary was pocket change. She'd mocked my career, my choices, my worth, but I'd used that same career to buy a house, build savings, take vacations, and create a stable life with someone who actually valued me. The pocket change had been enough all along. She just hadn't been enough to deserve it. 4 years after the divorce, I heard Jennifer had finally moved away, left the state entirely, started over somewhere else. Heard she's in Arizona now? Tom mentioned casually. Cousin of a friend saw her there. Good for her. You really don't care? Really don't. She's been gone from my life for 4 years. Her physical location doesn't change anything? That's growth. That's healing. Because that's what the 4 years had been. Not forgetting, not pretending it hadn't happened, but healing from it, processing the damage, building something new and healthy. Rachel and I bought a house together, bigger than the one I'd shared with Jennifer, better neighborhood. We made decisions together. We supported each other's goals. We celebrated successes and weathered setbacks as a team. Everything Jennifer had claimed to want, but hadn't actually valued when she had it. 5 years after the divorce, I got an email from Jennifer. Subject line: I hope you can read this. I almost deleted it. Then curiosity won. I'm writing as part of my recovery program. I understand if you don't want to respond. I've spent 5 years in therapy working through why I made my choices, why I lied, why I gave our money away, why I treated you the way I did. It comes down to this. I was terrified of being ordinary. You were stable, reliable, kind, all the things I should have valued. But to me, they felt like settling. Brandon represented a fantasy, not because he was actually better, but because he was unattainable, chaotic, dramatic. I sabotaged our marriage because I was too immature to appreciate what we had. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just wanted you to know I understand now. You weren't boring, you weren't insufficient, you weren't pocket change. I was just too broken to see your value. I hope you're happy. You deserved better than what I gave you. I read it twice, felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no vindication. I showed it to Rachel. Are you going to respond? No, there's nothing to say. Does it give you closure? I already had closure. This is just confirmation I made the right choice. I deleted the email. Jennifer was welcome to her healing journey. I'd completed mine without her. 6 years after the divorce, Rachel and I celebrated our second wedding anniversary. Quiet dinner at home, her homemade pasta better than anything I'd had at a restaurant. You happy? She asked. Incredibly. No regrets? None. Every choice led me here, even the bad marriage. even the dramatic ending. All of it was necessary. Who are you now? Someone who knows his worth. Someone who doesn't accept crumbs when he deserves the whole meal. I'm proud of us. Me too. 7 years after that dinner at Marcello's, I looked back on it with something close to gratitude. Not for the pain, but for the clarity, the permission to choose myself. Jennifer had called my salary pocket change, had mocked my career, had given our savings to someone else, and I'd responded by removing her from my life completely. It was the most expensive dinner I'd ever paid for, and the best investment I'd ever made. Because walking out of that restaurant, leaving her crying at the table, unable to pay for the meal she'd ordered, I'd also walked into the rest of my life. A life where I was valued, respected, loved for who I was. A life where $72,000 wasn't pocket change. It was freedom.